Cageless.
Welcome back to Late Night Cage Fight. In this episode of Cageless, we are reviewing a recent film that was just released by the director, Kevin Lewis, director of Willy's Wonderland. His new film is called The Accursed, or The Accursed. I like The Accursed. It just sounds, I guess, more classy. What do you think, Cage Fighter Sean?
I like Accursed.
Accursed?
But shout out to Screen Media, who gave us this film to review. It's very nice of them to provide a pre-release screener, so thank you.
Thank you very much. We always appreciate just movies that we can enjoy together from behind our computer screens.
Especially if they're tangentially associated with one Nicolas Cage.
I was going to use that word. I was going to say tangentially related, and then I heard it in my voice, right, in my head. I'm like, I'm not going to say that. So I think we're on the same page here. There's probably going to be a lot of agreement. I'm hoping not, though. I'm hoping, Sean, that you can maybe give me a little more insight into the story of this film. Let's see here. So it's about a week since it was released. I believe October 17th was the release date. It stars Sarah Gray.
Not Asha.
Gray. Okay. Meg Foster.
Best known for her role in Stargirl.
That's right.
Which,
That's right.
Nobody watched.
That's okay, because maybe we'll get a couple folks to watch this one, right? That's the idea. Meg Foster, I didn't recognize this actress until I did the IMDb search and realized that she had a pretty big role all the way back to Masters of the Universe in the 80s. And she's actually had a very prodigious, is that the right word? She's had a long career in acting, and she played the part of Evelyn in Masters of the Universe. And I remembered like her hair and makeup and everything. It was a really cool character. And when you see the actress now in this role of Miss Ambrose, let's just say it's a much different role. But to me, she stuck out. She stuck out as I think one of the best performers in this film. We've also got Sarah Dumont, Mina Savari, Alexis Knapp, and her daughter, Kailani Knapp. A couple other supporting roles here. I won't linger too much. Just tell me right now, Sean, Cage Fighter Sean. By the way, Cage Fighter Steve is not here with us tonight, so we'll all just take a moment of silence for Steve here. Okay, that's done. What did you think
he hibernates during the holidays to avoid watching horror movies.
Yeah, he's like anti-cageless now. What do you want to say about The Accursed before we talk about it? Before we really jump into the story and our thoughts on it?
So I definitely say that it gave me some Hereditary vibes.
I felt that too.
Anyone who's listened to our review on the works of Ari Aster, but definitely far more condensed. This movie, as I recall, it was a tight 90 minutes, around that length. Hereditary is a lot more of a slow burn film.
Sure.
Yeah, very very much about family and just how family's choices can have negative effects on their offspring.
I must correct myself, it was actually released October 14th, not 17th. Oops. The Accursed, Hereditary vibes, sure. When you compare it to Willy's Wonderland, I would argue that this one, I think, feels a little lower budget. Would you agree?
Definitely lower budget. It is worth mentioning that this was a movie that was filmed in the times of COVID.
Yeah.
So, they likely were delaying this just to be able to release it in theaters, and this happened to be the most advantageous time, releasing it around October for Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah, but there is creativity there in how they blocked these scenes. There's lots of scenes with one actor, maybe two, that go on for some time. And I feel like, speaking of the cinematography, they do a lot with the camera to keep those scenes interesting, even though there's not much, really happening there. But it is kind of a slow burn too, kind of like Hereditary, I guess, with the simple fact that it all leads up to something somewhat epic that we'll discuss when it comes to spoilers. I think it's going to be necessary, actually, when we talk about this film. But really, this is a story about witches, right? And curses.
And demons.
And demons. And all that dark stuff. So, Ellie is asked by a family friend to look after an elderly woman living in a remote cabin for a few days. She agrees, but soon discovers there's a demon hiding in the woman, just waiting to break free. And, reading that and thinking back to the film, I think where this film really shines is in those sequences where they depict the demon revealing itself or starting to come out of Meg Foster's character. Props to the special effects artists and the makeup crew. Very well done, very creepy and unsettling. And those are probably the strongest points of the film, I would argue, which definitely important when we're talking about horror.
I definitely think that, some of the performances in the movie felt a little light, a little, low budget. It was clear that, some of the actresses in the movie were, hadn't really been in too many leading roles.
Right.
I still think the main character didn't really give me the vibe that she was a nurse, even though she was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Doesn't really do anything too medical throughout the film.
Right. Yeah. So I tell you, the opening scene of the movie does a pretty good job at drawing you into it, because it's actually kind of a flashback. Now, I don't know how far back a flashback. You kind of get an idea when these two characters appear later in the film. You realize, okay, this wasn't that long ago, but you definitely get this vibe like, okay, this is like the prologue, and it's this woman and her daughter going into this witch's cabin to ask her to kill somebody.
Yeah, basically, it seemed like this witch would often accept people to come to her, essentially to pay her to put curses on people.
Right.
It was clear from the initial interaction that, she didn't really vet who comes in to see her too hard, which is how the woman is able to get the jump on the witch.
Yeah. So she requires blood to drink.
Yes.
And she's given a vial of blood that sends her into a very Nicolas Cage-like frenzy. And that was the moment when I was like, oh, damn, this is getting good. And there's kind of this minor twist there where the woman and her daughter are not there to ask for a curse to be placed on someone. They're actually there to fight the witch. Is that what you got out of it?
So they really position them as like witch hunters.
Yeah.
But later on in the movie, they kind of made it seem like it was kind of more of a one-off thing. You know, I was kind of expecting something more like along the lines of like, you know, the show Supernatural, or that this was a thing that they like regularly went out and did.
Right.
But
Me too.
I
Me too.
guess that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
So I was a bit unclear to their motivations of like why they were going after this witch.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to how I was talking about the shots in the movie, as well as the makeup and the costumes, and also the performance in this scene. They all kind of distract you from the story, so that after the scene is over, you start to think about it, and it doesn't quite add up, and you have to kind of rely on what's to come. And it's I guess what I'm saying is, you know, when you compared it to Hereditary, you talked about how this is more of a compact movie, but as far as the plot goes, I was thoroughly confused at different moments throughout the film. Although there were things in the movie that I invited, because I needed some crazy horror shit to happen, but I didn't always understand why. And that opening sequence is a great example.
Yeah, I was kind of confused too, because immediately after that scene that happens with the witch hunter and her daughter, you cut to our main character, who you just find out her mother passed away. And I was trying to figure out like what the connection was, because I couldn't really see, but for a second I thought that maybe like, you know, she was related to the witch hunter woman. So initially I thought that like, oh, is this her mother, thinking that it was like a further back of a flashback than it initially was.
Yes.
But that ended up not being the case.
Right.
And yeah, so basically what happens is like this girl's mother just passed away, and she gets a call basically to watch over this old woman, since I guess she does in-house nurse care.
Right.
Probably the worst like in-house nurse I've seen in a movie.
Right, yeah. And in those first 30 minutes of the movie, it does kind of drag, you know? It's like following her throughout the house and experiencing these creepy sequences where it's pretty obvious that the ghost of her mother is like running amok in the house. But for whatever reason, the main character, Ellie, seems unconcerned or just in disbelief. So it kind of comes off as a little bit comedic to me, the number of like ghost experiences she has, and she just kind of discounts, and then she gets this job, you know, out in the woods to care for this sick old lady in this creepy ass cabin.
Yeah, and
I don't know, man.
The woman's daughter just I don't know, is just like super awkward with her.
Yeah.
I don't know, doesn't even really. She's basically just like, oh, like, did you know my mom? And she's just like, no. Like, what?
Yeah, she's very aloof. And another thing about this movie is not a lot of lights work in the homes and stuff. I noticed that. Like, she didn't like to have a lot of lights on in her mom's house, and then when she goes to the cabin, it's dark and spooky, and I'm just thinking, woman, there's some crazy shit about to happen if you don't turn them lights on.
And the main character also has a friend who is part
Yeah.
of the movie
Yeah.
for most of it.
Oh yeah. Beth.
Goes with her. So basically, what happens is she gets this call to take care of the witch lady, who supposedly is, somebody that her mom knew.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes with her friend there because
Right.
it's kind of sus. And her friend just decides to just like steal somebody's apple that was just laying around.
Yeah. That's right.
I wouldn't just eat somebody's
Nah.
fruit that they just have.
Especially a lady dressed like a pumpkin. Do you remember her dress?
Dressed like Ness from Earthbound.
I did like I remember I even told you while we were watching it, I liked the fashion choices. Especially for Ellie. I thought she had some really nice outfits. But that's mostly because I was trying to tune out of some of the dialogue that was kind of grating. The conversations between Ellie and Beth are very white girl yoga friends type conversations.
Very, very, typical early 2000s horror
Yeah.
conversations.
I also wasn't sure when to place the film. Because for a time, I thought maybe it was pre-smartphones era or early smartphones era. And I think it's just modern day, right?
Yeah, that was the thing that was weird, was like this girl. Okay, like if you are going to be watching an old woman, you're gonna be on your phone the whole time. Come on, I mean,
Yeah. Instead, she's just sitting around thinking, was that my mom's ghost? Oh, I heard that song again that my mom always used to play when she was alive. It's playing right now in the room, and I didn't put it on. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, there's a reoccurring theme of using Mary Caitlin's "You Are My Baby Girl."
Mm-hmm.
And they use that song throughout the film.
Yeah.
And I mean that's kind of used to show how like her mom's ghost is still haunting her.
Right. Now, I do have to say, after praising the costumes and makeup, I do think that the choices for the mother were a bit odd. To me, it looks like she's wearing some janky-ass wig, and like she's trying to... Was her mom was a witch? Is that right? Is that
Honestly,
why they made her look kind of witchy?
I found that a bit confusing too, at just like what the connection was, like, because at the beginning of the movie, basically the witch hunter girl tricks the witch into ingesting her own blood, because basically the curse that she puts on is she ingests whoever's blood is the person that you're trying to curse. Mm-hmm. So she essentially got like a demon to go inside of her body.
Okay.
So like instead of having the demon like a curse somebody else, she did a self-harm.
Oh. You know what? I didn't even really catch on to that. So the lady brought the demon into her own body. Is that what you're telling me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But now that I think of it, how did the witch hunter lady get the witch's blood?
Sean, I have so many questions. Why didn't she just burn the house down a long time ago? Isn't that what she wanted? I'm talking about the witch hunter. Didn't she just want to kill the demon?
Because the witch was there.
Yeah, but the witch would stop that from happening?
I mean, probably. She'd be
Even
like, hey,
even when she's in...
Stop burning my house down.
Even when she's in a vegetative state? I mean, even before Ellie comes there to take care of her. To take care of the lady.
Because the girl was... Because her granddaughter or whatever was there.
Well, screw her. That chick's nuts.
Yeah, and that was another thing, was like... The granddaughter had like 2 different names. She was Alma, but also Dorothy.
Yeah.
And I think I just missed something.
Yes.
It was kind of confusing because like the witch hunter girl at some point just shows up kind of out of the blue and is just like, "Hey, you should let me burn this house down."
Yeah.
And then she kind of just does like big exposition dump, and she like finds out that her mom was friends or something with the witch. I think.
I have to say this before I forget. There is a scene where... So there's like 2 stories happening at once, right? You have Ellie, who is experiencing Miss Ambrose's demon problems, while at the same time Beth is in town, you know, at the library asking what a microfiche is and trying to do some detective work. And there's a scene with a librarian who looks like a Victoria's Secret model. She's in just that... I say scene, I mean, it was like one shot. She was in there for maybe 5 seconds, and her name is Olivia Day, and she's credited as the librarian assistant. And I'm sorry, it just looked like a porn in the movie at that point. I thought that it was going to take a different turn at that point. I'm sorry to librarians. I'm sure that there are beautiful people who have chosen that career path, but she looked like maybe she was even too young to have her degree in library studies. Do you know what I'm talking about, Sean? Do you remember that shot?
Yeah, you don't even see her face. And
she's let's see, on IMDb here, she is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. She's 10th here. I thought she was a little higher up, but she's right under Troy James, who played the demon. And a little bit of spoilers here, so I'm going to say spoiler alert. I'll give it 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. All right. This movie is really it's an avenue for Troy James, who is a somewhat well-known theatrical actor. He's a body performer. This was kind of a way to showcase his skills as a demon. So there is a demon that makes an appearance in this movie, and he is in the costume. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Troy James. He's done work for all kinds of just scary stuff, creatures, you know, Hellboy, The Flash, American Horror Story. Yeah.
I mean, The Flash is scary because, you know, Ezra Miller gonna do stuff to you.
I swear I read American Horror Story in maybe like an article about him, and on IMDb I don't see that listed, so I'm starting to question that. We got The Strain, Shadowhunters. Well, anyway, if he wasn't in American Horror Story, he should be, because he can do some pretty sick stuff with his body. We're not talking about porn, sorry.
So can the librarian.
Yeah. I mean, I opened up the spoiler box, so we might as well just stay here, right? I mean...
The xenomorph.
There's what's supposed to be a scary, psychologically chilling sequence with her mother hanging from a tree, throwing apples at her. And I just thought that was really funny.
An apple a day keeps the witches away.
Oh, man.
That's not a line in the movie. But it should be.
It should be. Let's see. The police officer guy shows up. Has there been a problem? You know, they don't show the car at first. You just see the lights. You know, I'm thinking, man, this is low budget. You know, anytime police show up in a movie and they don't show them pulling up, you know, it's cheap. But it works. It works. But I also thought this dude's gonna die. It's always the cop or the person trying to help, right, that gets killed in these movies.
And then there's the other cop that's just like loudly playing Atari on her phone. It sounds like.
Yeah. Now remind me, we got to go through the ending here because I was kind of rushed in a hurry to finish it, and there is a lot that happens. So can we go through that a bit? Maybe we can put some of these pieces together, right? Like, she finds the blood in the basement. Ellie, the main character girl. She finds the blood in the basement and finds out that her mom had been taking her blood.
Yeah, and because she made a deal with the witch to curse her father, and basically said, like, well, I'll give you my daughter's blood as payment.
That's right.
Essentially.
That's right.
And so that was the I forgot about that. That was the how they were connected.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the demon comes out of the body.
Well, I also want to say I love when the police officer shows up. The first time he says, you know, he's like, "Who are you?" And Ellie says, "Oh, I'm Miss Ambrose's nurse, her caretaker." He's like, "I thought she was dead." No, she's alive. Okay. And then he comes back later after shit's hit the fan. And she's like, "Oh, Miss Ambrose is dead. Don't go in there. You don't want to go in there. She's definitely dead." He had to be.
That was another thing, was like, worst nurse ever. There's a scene at the beginning where where Miss Ambrose pukes up like a bunch of black shit.
Yeah.
And
are you okay?
Yeah, are you okay? Doesn't call 911
Doesn't
or
phase
anything.
her.
Yeah. Doesn't change one bedpan.
No. She doesn't do nurse stuff. It's literally like she went to babysit her cousin, who's just in the back room playing video games and eating pizza, you know, and she gets to hang out in the living room and think about her ghost mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And Alma comes home and kills her friend, who shows up.
That's right.
And does absolutely nothing, and in hindsight didn't even really need to be in the movie.
That's right.
She doesn't really add anything besides going to the library.
Yes.
And
my favorite part. Not really. Yeah, and talking about you know, what Ellie needs to do for her future. Like, you gotta have some wine and some cheese and just, veg out, bitch. Could you imagine Nicolas Cage, right, in City of Angels, but instead of Meg Ryan, it's this nurse?
Worst nurse ever.
Yeah, her friend gets murdered. And that was entertaining kind of fight scene there.
Demon burns the house down.
Yeah, then we get the demon's introduction. Before it was just you'd see its hand come out of the mouth, right? I thought that was pretty cool, seeing those fingers come out. It's like, ooh.
I was worried we weren't going to get the whole thing, but they delivered.
Me too. They did. Again.
Yeah.
Troy James is the creature, and it's worth it to see how he moves in the demon suit. But it is also, I'm kind of torn. I mean, you can tell, right, that it's a monster suit, but you kind of forgive it, I think, in these kind of movies. At least I do, because I thought that the actor in the suit was very expressive.
And it actually was the suit was made to protect against COVID too. So
you joke, but I saw they had like a 6-person team of COVID police. They were regulators or something, making sure that the policies were being followed. It's in the credits, so that's what confirmed our theory that it was a COVID movie. How about when Alma she cuts off Beth's face and wears it, right? Like Silence of the Lambs style. You remember that?
I do.
Yeah, I thought that was unnecessary but amusing nonetheless.
I mean, it was better than her face.
True. Oh, and then how do they get rid of the demon? Well, Demon Hunter woman, she has to read from the book. Yeah.
Yeah, she reads the book, seals it away.
Yeah, it's the Necronomicon. You just got to know how to say the words in the right order. That's it, right?
And
except I think it was in English, whatever the incantation was.
That was what was kind of funny. It was just like nondescript witchcraft stuff.
Yeah, that was one complaint. And it's not just this movie. It's really for any movie that deals with witches and demons. I feel like there's somewhat of an obligation to put some thought into the demonology, into the actual like satanic part of it. Like I think when we watch movies with supernatural elements, we want to know pretty early on, is it satanic? Is it just magic? Is it something scientific that has maybe evolved through folklore? And sure, there are circumstances where maybe it's better to keep that open-ended. But in a movie like this that actually has a book, and we're talking about demonic blood and possession, I just think you need to make it, you got to make it more satanic. You know what I mean? You got to lay it out there. Like, this is Satan. That's what makes it scary, man. That's what makes it disturbing, to me at least.
Yeah, it's something unknown. Like, that was what I thought was so cool about Hereditary, because it's like, I mean, spoilers for Hereditary, but I mean, you find out that it's because all this creepy shit is happening because
right.
The witch was trying to resummon the demon Paimon, which is like real demon.
And Ari Aster did a lot of real demon research to create that within the world of Hereditary. And I don't think that Hereditary is a fair example or comparison to this film. I'm just saying, give me a little bit more. You've got a book. Where did the book come from? And it's funny that we're talking about this spell book, because I actually did just watch Hocus Pocus 2, and I'm not going to get into the whole goddamn woke controversy and all that stuff, okay? I'll just say I do think that it was a little bit too sanitized. I felt that all the actresses that came back to reprise their roles were excellent. All their scenes were, I thought, hilarious. But again, witches, are they satanic or are they fairies? Just evil fairies with some magic power. And Hocus Pocus 2, I think, muddled that water a little bit more. And it's like this movie too.
See,
it's the dark arts.
See, I'm playing through the second Bayonetta game, so I'm going the other direction. I'm like,
Yeah.
are they fairies or are
Uh,
they do they summon demons with their hair that are also their bodies with their
yeah.
uh, with their stiletto gun heels? Come on.
What the hell is the fashion like in hell? Must be pretty sick. I would have liked to see the demon in the Accursed actually just like slaughtering the shit out of people. That's something I would have liked to see. But that's just my personal preference.
At the end, I mean, you do get a little bit of that with the twist that you totally called.
I did?
Yeah, when we first started watching it, you were like, I hope this movie doesn't have like a dumb twist at the end.
Oh, okay. But I didn't say what the twist was going to be, right?
No,
Well,
but
yeah. Do you want to describe the twist at the end?
well, you find out that Ellie is in fact employed as a nurse,
Uh-huh.
which I think was a huge twist. But this might shock you that that's not the twist we're referring to. So she walks into a room and finds, they say there's a burn victim. She walks into the room and just sees a bunch of like doctors and nurses all like
Hanging.
hung up, and they start playing that familiar song.
That lovely tune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Alma's there, alive.
Yep.
Which I thought was weird that they used that song for Alma.
Mm-hmm.
Because they actually had her singing the song.
Yes.
But that song wasn't relevant to her. It was relevant to her mom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe I missed something. I don't know.
That's a good point. I was actually more thinking about how these nurses and doctors and whatever patients, how they were able to hang themselves from the ceiling with those sheets. Like that's a lot of work. Getting up there with the rafter. I don't know. It makes me, I hate to say this again, but it makes me appreciate Hereditary even more. I'm so sorry, because I know it's not a fair comparison at all. And I'm not the best horror aficionado, I think. But in Hereditary, when the characters want to kill themselves, they just do it. You know, stabbing themselves, or it's like intense. And when I see like neatly hanging from sheets from the ceiling, to me it just seems more theatrics. It didn't creep me out as much, but I think the younger generation who haven't seen a lot of horror movies, it might have a stronger impact with them, and that's great. But for me, I just thought it was a little cheesy, and the song didn't help either.
And then I thought the song in the credits was pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
It was, Loverman by Nicholas Edward Cave.
Nicolas Cage.
So, which role would you have Nicolas Cage play in this movie? Which is the question.
I mean, the opening scene is very Nick. If he was the witch, I would love to see him. I think he should play an opposite gender role sometime. I have no problem with that, and just play it straight. But I feel like Alma had, since she had more screen time, and she was also a little nutty and gets violent and has her moments, he would succeed heavily in that role as well. And I guess would also be this movie is very female heavy. I don't know if I said that earlier, but there's very few male roles in this movie, which I think is cool. You don't see that a lot today.
Every male character in the movie dies.
Yeah, except for the one scene with Beth's dad. Do you remember that? She's talking to her dad.
I don't.
You don't remember that? Yeah, the actor's name is Johnny Land. I forget what she's trying to get from him. But it was a terrible scene. And it also ended with a punchline or some terrible joke that I cannot recall. But I'm like, all right, they left that in.
See, I would really like to see Nick do kind of like a nutty professor situation and just play all the roles.
That would be so epic. Yeah. And that would prove to everyone that he is, in fact, a versatile actor, as we already know. But if he had to play every role, you know. Yeah. I wonder, you know how he likes to make up his own accents? Do his own kind of voices for his characters? If he would be able to actually, like, surgically discriminate between them. You know what I mean?
I wonder, because...
Yeah. That would be hard.
I mean, every time I try to do an accent, I, like, slip between, like, British and Australian.
Me too. Yeah, it takes me some time to kind of hone in. So I have to do a little warm-up by myself and then come out and I can be okay with either one. But I think if you are British or Australian, though, you catch on pretty quick. And then I have to leave the bar in shame. How can we sum up The Accursed? Final thoughts on this movie.
You know, it's Halloween season. It's a short watch.
Yeah.
You know, if you go see this, maybe we'll get Wally's Wonderland 2.
You know what? I totally agree. We should be getting people out there to watch it. Yeah. Wow. Now I really, really want this movie to succeed. I think that it's okay. It's a functional horror movie. It drags after that opening scene. But like I said, the effects are cool. I really liked the performance of the old lady, Meg Foster. She really committed to it. I mean, she had to do some gross stuff.
I think she ate black licorice so she could spit it up in that one scene.
God, yeah, lots of vomiting and bleeding and crazy eyes. Yeah. That was impressive to see. But keep in mind, it's a COVID movie. There's lots of emptiness in these scenes. I really feel like they were padding out the beginning. They don't get to the cabin until 30 minutes in to the runtime. And I think to make the movie stronger, they should have started much, much earlier going to the cabin, because it really starts to feel like, after so long, it feels like Nicole Kidman and The Others. You know, lots of just kind of eeriness and wandering, not a whole lot happening, and I'm like, okay, so this is more of a psychological thing. It's probably going to be a bit smart as it unfolds, but instead it's like you said, right? It's a simple movie, really. In the end, it just, some things kind of get lost in the pacing.
It's inoffensive.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's The Accursed. It's available now, wherever you stream your stuff. I'm quite confident. Make sure you get
on something.
Yeah, make sure
Quibi.
You get the 2022. Just came out, so I think there's a couple films with that title. Yeah.
If you get the one that has the librarian on the cover, you probably downloaded the wrong one.
What? Not the right one? They should have put the librarian on the cover. I don't know what's wrong with me, man. Like, I saw the librarian. She has a couple lines, right? And I'm just like, why have I never been to a library with a librarian like that? It's always some lady that's like, "Hey, you can't chew gum in here. Shh, you gotta be quiet." It's never
use your Heelys in here.
Yeah. Yeah, welcome to the library. What can I help you find today? Oh, I really like your backpack. Never anything like that. Are you hunting ghosts again? Is it your dead mom again? Oh my god. That was probably offensive to somebody. I'm sorry.
We're canceled once again.
Once again. Yeah. So I'm going to give the floor to you now, Sean. Is there anything else you want to talk about at the tail end of this conversation? Should we talk about what's happening? I don't know which is coming out first, this one or our cage fight that has been on hiatus, pending for months now. In fact, it's highly likely that these will come out within days of each other. So that should be out. Listen to our actual official cage fight. We had an awesome guest on the show, Melissa from the Tomb of Nick Cage, which is a badass horror punk rock band. And
of New Orleans.
Yeah. Of the New Orleans variety. And man, was she an aficionado of the cage. I was super psyched with her cage knowledge. What else we got? We have at least one more Cageless in the pipeline. But I don't want to say what it is, because I feel like we're always battling over what it is we're going to actually watch. So, yeah, maybe or maybe not, you know? Who knows, right, Sean? Who knows?
Maybe we'll just watch World Trade Center with...
Yeah. Firefighter Cage.
Yeah.
Finally, so the story about massive talent, I mean, if there is anyone out there that's actually listening to this podcast on a regular basis, they've got to be scratching their heads thinking, why did they not do Massive Talent? That's like the most cagey Nick Cage thing ever made. And I have to tell you guys, I messed up. We did actually do a recording where we discussed it, and I lost some of the audio files. And if Steve were here right now, you know he would be berating me for this. But to make up for it, I think I've convinced Cage Fighter Sean. What I'd like to propose is we just do a commentary track. So we'll watch the film and then kind of talk about it as we watch it. And the reason is I listened to another commentary track on a podcast, and I thought it would be really lame because I'm not actually watching the movie with them as I'm listening, but it was actually really engaging, and I didn't care that I couldn't see the movie. So that will be kind of our challenge, to watch it and keep talking the whole time and keep that cage factor higher than the movie itself. Am I right?
And we'll tell you, why we wrote and directed that movie.
Exactly, yeah. It's going to be about our influence totally on that film. I actually see that...
the Cage verse.
I'm both proud of Massive Talent, and I also see it as a direct attack against us. And I'm not going to let it get to me. It was painful for a while. That's why we have had kind of an extended break. I had to deal with some of the unresolved issues that arose from being attacked directly by in Cage. I don't want to get sued, so I can't. Anyway, I still love you. I still love you and your movies. Nancy. No, I mean, I did feel like it was a response to what we're doing, and that's what's going to make it even sweeter when we talk about it in real time. And I hope some of you out there give it a listen and continue listening to this wonderful journey of Late Night Cage Fight. Hopefully we can keep it going with some more cage fights and some more, what do you call it? Season finale cage fights where we actually legitimately pick our winner. The previous winner of which I'm not going to reveal. If you want to know, go listen to our season 3 finale cage fight with Melissa from Tomb of Nick Cage. I'm Cage Fighter Reese, here with Cage Fighter Sean. Thanks for joining me, man. That was fun.
Thanks for joining me.
All right, and we will catch you next time. Later.
Cageless.